Prosecutor Gregory Long, DEA Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Bartholomew County Sheriff Matthew Myers, Columbus Police Chief Mike Richardson, City of Columbus Executive Director of Administration and Community Development Mary Ferdon. Also with us, but not speaking, ATF Special Agent Group Supervisor Renee Morano, United States Postal Inspection Service Postal Inspection Team Leader DeMarcus Calhoun, and Seymour Police Assistant Chief Greg O'Brien. Ladies and gentlemen, illegal drugs tear our communities apart. They crush the hopes, dreams, and work of our citizens. They take lives through addiction or violence because, as we know, guns follow drugs. And sadly, Bartholomew County is not immune to those threats. This morning, you'll hear how local law enforcement, with the assistance of federal authorities, rallied to the defense of Bartholomew County and its citizens to dismantle a large drug trafficking organization. You'll hear how through an operation known as Operation Columbus Day, a combination of local and federal resources resulted in the seizure of 114 pounds of methamphetamine, 4 pounds of heroin and fentanyl, and over 100 illegal firearms. Ultimately, this investigation resulted in the federal indictment of 36 persons and numerous state charges. These kinds of results don't just happen. They are the result of dedication and perseverance, the dedication and perseverance of the people on this stage, and I'd very much like you to hear from them. First, Bartholomew County Special Chief Deputy Prosecutor Gregory Long. Mr. Long.
Thank you. As he said, I'm the Chief Deputy Prosecutor here in Bartholomew County. My name is Greg Long. And the Bartholomew County Joint Narcotics Enforcement Team was formed shortly after Sheriff Matt Myers took office in 2015. And that's our local Joint Narcotics Team. It's comprised of the Sheriff's Department, the Columbus Police Department, and the Bartholomew County Prosecutor's Office. I've been proud to be part of JNET since its inception as the Deputy Prosecutor who's assigned to that team. But in addition to that, we also have a good working relationship with our federal partners, and we also have a detective from JNET who is assigned to work with the DEA. That's allowed for better information sharing between local and federal law enforcement. But not only do we share information, we also work together. The operation that we're here talking about today, I think, is a great example of how working together can help stop meth, heroin, and other illegal drugs and guns from getting into our community. I look forward to continuing to work together as a team with our partners to help stop the flow of illegal drugs and guns from entering our community. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from DEA Special Agent Mike Ginn.
Good morning. Thank you very much for those great remarks, John. Really appreciate the opportunity to be up here today. When you look at this case and you think of some of the statistics that you've heard, it just doesn't happen without the collaborative effort and the partnership with everybody that's standing up here today. So my hats go off to all of you, and we just couldn't make cases like this without each other, and especially the case of this magnitude. I think you guys are aware there was almost 60 individuals arrested during this 2-year plus investigation. When you look at the methamphetamine that was seized, almost 115 pounds of methamphetamine. If you look at the community in Columbus, there's probably 51,000 people for a population. The methamphetamine that we seized in this investigation would have been enough to provide a dosage unit for every citizen in Columbus. That's just an incredible job to get that stuff off the street. Also, we looked at the seizure of about 115 firearms. Unbelievable work, and it's simple. Those are firearms that were in the wrong hands, and they were the hands of drug dealers, and we took those off the street. So just incredible stuff. The fentanyl and heroin, 4 pounds of fentanyl and heroin. If you look at fentanyl, 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a lethal dosage unit. It's causing problems throughout our whole country, the methamphetamine and the fentanyl. We know both of them are coming from Mexico. They're flooding our communities with these drugs. If you look at fentanyl, it's going now into opioids, counterfeit pills, counterfeit Xanax pills, and it's just flooding our area. And if you statistically throughout the country, 2020, 85,000 people died of a drug overdose. In Indiana alone, we're over 1,000 people dying of a drug overdose. And I'm very proud to be working hand in hand with the Bartholomew County Sheriff's Office, the Columbus PD, the Seymour PD, and in this instance, our federal partners from the U.S. Postal Inspection and the ATF. Everyone did an exceptional job with this investigation, and we're going to continue to do that for our community. Our job is to go out there, identify people that are looking to peddle poison into our streets and do something about it and hold them accountable. And in this instance, 36 people were charged federally, which is huge, and they're going to face federal prosecution, and also there'll be several people that'll be facing state prosecution. So I can't thank our partners enough, and our job is to continue this fight, and we can't do it alone. We need our citizens to step up, and we need people to recognize individuals that have drug addictions and to try to make a difference in their life, because if we can do things collaboratively together, I always like to use a quote that John Wooden once said, "You can't live a perfect day until you've helped someone do something they can never repay you for." So I ask our fellow Hoosiers to get out there, and if you know people that are abusing drugs, have them get the necessary help that they need. And we'll continue to work hand in hand and take these drug dealers off the street who are only in business to do one thing: make money and not care whose lives they destroy. So we'll continue that fight, and thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Sheriff Myers.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Sheriff Matt Myers, Sheriff Bartholomew County, and what a wonderful day. I don't know too many of you that really know me personally, but I'm a very impatient individual, and I wanted this to happen much faster than it did. You can ask my Chief Deputy, Chris Lane. I continuously ask him, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? He said, it'll happen. Well, today it happened. And it happened because boots on the ground, agents, DEA agents, detectives, officers, and a lot of different multiple federal agencies working together as one to get the job done. This is the biggest case in Bartholomew County's history when it comes to drugs. For the city police and for the sheriff's office, we've never seen anything like this. 36 federal indictments, and that's not including the state. And I want to go back a little bit and talk to you all about how this all happened. 7 years ago, when I was elected sheriff, I went out and talked to a lot of community members. And the number one concern that they had was drug enforcement. And they weren't sure that we were really utilizing and doing things the way we should. And so my Chief Deputy, Chris Lane, and myself sat down and we thought, all right, what can we do that's never been done before? And we both came from the Columbus Police Department. We said, we've got to partner with the city of Columbus. So I got a hold of Mayor Jim Lenham, and I said, look, we want a joint narcotics unit. We don't want two different units doing two different things. We want to be on the same page and share the same intelligence. That's exactly what we did. We got with the prosecutor's office, and we said to Bill Nash, we want Greg Long to be part of this. And the reason I say that is because Greg Long has been a prosecutor for many years, and when I worked narcotics back in the early 90s, he was our prosecutor, and he did an outstanding job. That made a big difference in Bartholomew County when we did that, all right? It took away the, this is your area, this is my area, and all that, and we started to see differences. We started to see big differences in cases that were getting solved, and we're starting to make a lot of arrests. But then Chief Deputy Lane also said, and this is something that we had both talked about, we wanted to partner with a federal agency, and we wanted to partner with the Drug Enforcement Administration, the field office out of Indianapolis. Because what we wanted to do was not only push the drugs out of Bartholomew County, we wanted to push it out of the surrounding counties as well. We wanted to take the fight to the dealers. We wanted to take the fight to the cartel if we needed to. And if we needed to go anywhere in the United States, we wanted to be able to do that. And the ticket to that was partnering up with the Drug Enforcement Administration. We no longer just worry about the street level dealers. We're going after the big fish. And we're doing that because we have the federal agencies here, we have the Drug Enforcement Administration, we got the federal prosecutor, and we're going to send one message out today. We have got our plan, and we are working together. And if you are doing illegal drugs, not just in Bartholomew County, but central Indiana or anywhere, and it involves Columbus, Indiana, and Bartholomew County, we got the resources, and we're going to come and get you, all right? And it's just a matter of time. And you may think you're getting away with something, but eventually we will find you, and you will be held accountable for your actions. So I want to thank, again, the agents that were boots on the ground. I want to thank the City of Columbus. I want to thank Mike Richardson, the police chief, thank the Seymour Police Department, and all our friends with the on the federal side. And as long as I am sheriff, drug enforcement will continue to be our #1 priority until the last day I leave office, and we will continue to work with all these agencies as one. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce the Columbus Police Chief, Mike Richardson.
Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you all coming. As the sheriff said, obviously this wouldn't happen unless everybody is willing to take off. Doesn't matter who gets credit for things. Obviously, what's important here is that the job's done. And you look up here now, and that shows that that local, city, state, and federal agencies can work together. And at the end of the day, what's important is that we get the drug dealers off the street and out of our community. Obviously, in our community, drugs is an issue, and we are doing what we can to stop it. It affects probably 80–90% of the crime that we respond to relates back to drugs one way or another. So obviously, we've put the resources the county has, and obviously our federal partners and community partners, as well as other agencies from around the state, all work together, which is what we have to do. But at the end of the day, us as administrators, we don't do the work. It's the officers out there on the street that's doing the work. They're the ones that get the credit for this. They're the ones that put in the long hours. They're the ones that are away from their families and spend the time doing the work. It's not us. Our job is get them, like I said, resources, be sure that they have what they need. But the people that need the credit here are the officers that are out there actually doing the work. Again, thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate the partnerships we have with everybody. Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to introduce City of Columbus Executive Director Mary Fredon. Ms. Fredon.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be here. First, I do want to welcome the members from the ATF, from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm going to show people from the DEA, from the Seymour PD. Thank you for being here and the work that you've done for the post office inspection. Afterwards, I'm going to talk to you about some of the postal issues I've got, but, and then from the prosecutor's office, as well as any others who have taken the time and the effort to come to Columbus to highlight this great JNET partnership between the City of Columbus Police Department and the County Sheriff's Department. We are so proud of the officers who have strategically worked together with the state and federal partners I just talked about to attack, as both the sheriff and the chief said, pretty much the primary scourge in our community right now, which is drugs. Mayor Lenup is unable to be here, but if he was, I have worked with him long enough to know that he would tell you about when he first started as mayor in 2016, he had to learn about all the services that a city provided. Picking up trash, plowing snow, putting out fires, finding lost puppies, and everything in between. But what was most troubling and difficult was the learning about the drug issues that we have here in Columbus, from both the supply side and the user side. And we learned that you can't just tackle one end. We have to cut off the supply side, and then we also have to address the damage caused by the use side at the other end of the snake. And I use snake as an analogy because I hate snakes, right? To address the supply side, several years ago, as the sheriff talked about, the city and county put together a proactive plan to mitigate the opioid epidemic and reduce the negative effect that drug crimes have on the citizens of Columbus and Bartholomew County. And those issues and those problems are real. Part of that strategy was to invest in partnership, and it's this interagency cooperation that we've been talking about today that's led to the positive impact that we, and I say we, and I mean our police officers, have had on identifying and arresting those who are responsible for bringing drugs into our community. So publicly, from the mayor's office, from the city, we want to say thanks to all who worked tirelessly to make this partnership work for our citizens and businesses. However, I can't stop there because I do want to note for our federal and state members that are here, these same agencies, particularly the police department and the sheriff department, not only understood the effect that drug crimes have on our community, but the devastation to individuals and families caused by drug use. And I think that you've already alluded to that. So about 5 years, around the time that JNET really got into action, the police department and the sheriff's office also partnered with many other entities throughout the county, including the court system, the jail, the probation office, the medical community, and human services to help those whose lives are ravaged by the use of drugs, which is the other head of the snake, right? And this effort is called ASAP, which stands for the Alliance to Prevent Drug, the Alliance for Progress in the Drug World, and it works on putting lives back together. And so these same officers who fight it on one side are also fighting on the other side, and they're instrumental in the prevention and the recovery system. And so this effort to us is just as important in the community, and so we've seen success in that, and we feel like our police, our law enforcement officers here have been a part of that. And I see Chris Lane nodding, and I give a lot of kudos to him. So again, thank you from the City of Columbus to the officers and to our state and federal partners for their dedication and effort in making these partnerships work. And they have really made a big difference to our community's health and safety, and then the quality of life. So again, thank you to all of you.
Ms. Verdon, thanks. And thanks to all the speakers this morning. We'd like to make ourselves available for questions for a couple minutes. I'll either take them or we'll pass them off to the best suited. So, yes, sir.
From what you said, Sheriff, we're not just going after the drug dealers, we're going after the big fish. I know when we talked earlier, the big fish are often located in Cincinnati, Chicago, larger cities that are kind of far away, and then the drugs are around here. Has that been the case in here?
Yes, that's correct. And that is something that you and I have talked about before, Mark. The drugs that are coming into Bartholomew County are coming in mostly probably from Indianapolis and from Cincinnati. The heroin that was coming in early on, a lot of it was coming in from the Cincinnati area. We have had our narcotics units the Joint Narcotics Unit work in Indianapolis. We've had them work in Cincinnati, along with the Drug Enforcement Administration. We've always had the Drug Enforcement Administration with us when we've done that. But it's not uncommon for other departments to come here to our community and our community not know it. We're sharing resources, and for our people to go to other communities to help them. And one of the big things is we can't do this alone. So we have more resources now than we've ever had, and this is not a good time to be a drug dealer anywhere in central Indiana. I can tell you that.
One follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
We got everybody, or more arrests expected?
I would say, I don't really want to get into the cases, but I will tell you that I guarantee, not this case, but I guarantee other cases, there's more arrests coming. And that will be on the state and federal side, but I don't want to get into the details of that.
What was the logistics for being able to answer? How are they getting the drugs? Were they using the post office?
I really don't want to, I would ask that you ask somebody else that question. So, any other questions? Did you have a question for me, John?
I did. This is probably a dumb question, but what is the benchmark that makes this press conference today different than yesterday? Because the indictments and stuff didn't just happen. I mean, they've been going on for a while. Is there some line that we have crossed that makes this news today that wasn't yesterday?
I'm going to let this gentleman answer that. Okay, thank you.
So thanks for that question. The nature of this investigation and these efforts was long-term, and here's why. When you attempt to make a significant impact in a community, you do that by developing intelligence, which takes some time, trying to identify the persons involved, which takes some time, and then effect an orderly, what we call a takedown. This was on the federal side what's known as an OCDEF case, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. So you see the task force here. And the organized implies, as you would expect, an organization that is of enough sophistication and big enough and courses enough drugs through the community where these things unfold over 18 months, 2 years, those sorts of things. There was an earlier question about whether this is over. The practical answer to that is it's never over. Oftentimes there are spin-off cases. Oftentimes people who are not arrested will reemerge in efforts to conduct controlled substances transactions. But in specific answer to your question, as a generalization, this operation has certainly achieved what it expected to achieve, hence the news that we're releasing today.
What was the logistics of this? How are they getting the drugs here?
I'm tempted to pass that to ASAC Gannon if I can.
Thanks, Jesse. Well, I'm not going to get into everything what happened in this investigation, but I just would submit to you, we worked hand in hand with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service in this investigation, so that's an indication that some of the packages were coming through shipments. And I think what people have to understand, when you have elaborate drug trafficking organizations, they'll use any means necessary to get drugs to communities within the United States, whether it's smuggling it on persons, whether it's smuggling it through buses, whether it's smuggling it in vehicles, and they'll dispatch that to networks that they have throughout the country. And that's what's going on here. And our job is when we know of people that are in our communities that are receiving those drugs is to investigate them thoroughly. And that's what exactly happened here. And you asked a question earlier about, hey, how come we're just getting around to doing the press conference now? Well, you have to understand, when we're building a long-term investigation and it's being prosecuted federally, you know, there isn't times where you can go to the media. And a lot of the people have been sentenced now, and one of the main individuals who was sentenced in this investigation received a 270-month sentence. So that's the important thing here. It's combining our resources. Our job is to find out the sophisticated methods that they're bringing the drugs into our community and then holding them accountable. And that should be a lesson for all these drug dealers out here. With everyone standing up here, we're not going to tolerate that. And we're going to put our resources together. And if it warrants a federal prosecution, we're gonna seek that, and when the time's right, where we can get with the media and, present, that we arrested or indicted 36 people, and it's not gonna affect things, that's what we're here to do. So thank you for your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of piggybacking on that, so you would characterize this group, the arrestees, as basically one big cartel. This is one organization that's all connected. And I'm wondering if all of those people, piggybacking on his a little bit as far as where they're from, are most of them from out of the country? Are they from out of the state? Are they, most of them, from here?
Yeah, most of the individuals in this specific investigation are from this area. And that's the important thing. And like any investigation, we will follow it to the very end. And it's all about holding the source of supply accountable. And that's exactly what we do. And we try to make the best impact we can by doing that. And that's what we'll continue to do, no question.
Some of the big fish were actually here in Columbus.
That's correct. And not only that, when you have drug dealers, they have networks. Their job is to get it to the person who can move the drugs. And that's why I brought up earlier when we were talking about the dangers of fentanyl. A lot of these drug trafficking organizations, just so you can kind of understand how it works a little bit, they're getting the chemicals from China, they're going to Mexico, they're making fentanyl. And then what are they doing when we had an opioid crisis and it's harder to get drugs such as opioids and oxycodone and everything like that because people will turn to the black market to get them now and get them from street dealers. What they're doing is they're putting fentanyl in those drugs. And in the state of Indiana alone, we're seizing throughout all our offices in law enforcement hundreds of thousands of pills that are counterfeit that are supposed to be Oxy 30s or some even Xanax, and they're putting fentanyl in it. Why are they doing that? Because the people are going to be so much more addicted to fentanyl, and they're going to keep buying drugs. And what do they care about? Money in their pocket. Do they care whose family they're destroying, whose lives they're destroying, whose birthday will never be the same, or whose holidays you're going to miss people? So that's what we continue to do, and that's what we're going to keep doing. So thank you. Yes.
Can I add just one other thing? One other thing that I forgot is, when I said before that, we're a group of one, I would be remiss if I did not mention our street deputies, our officers that are on patrol on the road. They have made a tremendous they've given a tremendous effort in this fight. They have pulled over a lot of vehicles that have had illegal substances in them, that have had guns in them, that have had wanted people in them. We have more dogs, drug-sniffing dogs in this community than we ever have. So I'd be remiss again if I did not mention the efforts of our patrol officers and our deputies, because this is not just from the top to the detectives working these cases. These are uniform officers that are going out on the street and looking for these drugs as well. So I want to commend them as well, because they're out here every night hitting it, and they're making a headway as well with this. So, yes.
I was just going to ask, if we are, of course, hopefully coming out of a year of a pandemic. This is a time when a lot of people have been home. Mental illness has kind of been going up, a lot of different problems. As this pandemic and the anxiety is created, has this increased, as Mary had talked about, both users and dealers?
On a local level, I can't speak for everywhere, but I think on a local level it has. And I think, people sitting at home, they're depressed, they're looking for a quick fix, something to make them feel good. And, we're continuing to see overdoses here in Bartholomew County. We're continuing to see drugs here. But I want to tell families that have been affected by this and people that don't think we're doing anything, think if we didn't do this investigation, how much worse it would be in Bartholomew County in central Indiana. This is the largest drug investigation in the history of the sheriff's office and the city police. This has not happened before in this county. And it's because upper management has changed the way they think. And it starts from the top. We give the resources, the tools, the everything the officers need to go out and stop this from getting worse. To say that we will be able to stop illegal drugs from coming into Bartholomew County completely, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that. But I damn sure will tell you we're going to slow it down. And we're going to slow it down being one group on the same page and being aggressively looking to stop it from coming into this community and central Indiana. It's because, listen, if you don't, you have to stop it in the surrounding counties too. Because if you don't, they're just going to trickle back in. And I'm sure with the DEA, they want it even more spread out. They want it out of Indiana. They want it out of Illinois. They want it out of the surrounding states. But the bottom line is, we are here to fight the fight, and we will fight it. And we will fight it until the very end. And it's for the people of this community and the people of Indiana as well. So thank you.
All right, thanks, thanks everybody for coming.